When it comes to the debt limit, we see the same negative default approach by the Republicans. Senate Republicans were ready to let go of the steering wheel and swerve into oncoming traffic with the debt limit. Right up until the 11th hour, they wanted to use a filibuster to block Democrats from addressing the debt, the limit of the debt. Do you know when that debt was incurred? It was incurred during the Trump administration, with many of these same Republicans voting for the spending that stands behind it. Now the minority leader, Senator McConnell, has once again pledged that Republicans refuse to lift a finger to deal with the debt limit when it expires in the first week of December. Think for a moment what defaulting on the debt would mean to American families. It is fodder for even more inflation. So don't come to the floor with your posing for holy pictures on the issue of inflation and then turn around and say, I don't care what happens to the debt limit. It'll raise interest rates if we take that cavalier attitude that ultimately fuel inflation. Americans will pay more each month because of that, for their mortgages and credit card bills and student and car loans. $15 trillion in household wealth and retirement savings would be wiped out if Senator McConnell and the Republicans have their way in the first week of December. If our Republican colleagues are truly concerned about the economic well-being of America, work with us to put together a sensible response to the debt limit. Senator Schumer and the Democrats have said to the Republicans, if you won't lead, if you can't follow, then get the heck out of the way. Democrats with a majority vote will enact a new debt limit. We understand our responsibility to this nation. Denial, incidentally, seems to be the watchword on the Republican side. Certainly it is when it comes to climate change. Some of our Republican colleagues insist that despite all the evidence, climate change is a phony, fake news, a hoax. Others acknowledge it's real, but say, we just can't afford to do anything about it. In fact, what we can't afford to do is nothing. Climate change is here, and the cost of it is disastrous. 1 in 3 Americans live in a county that's been hit by an extreme weather event this summer. 1 out of 3. Family homes consumed by wildfires, farms ravaged by unprecedented droughts, and lives lost in floods of biblical proportion. Last year, our nation was hit by 18 climate disasters costing at least $1 billion each. 18. The total tab for climate-related disasters that year was $95 billion. This year is worse. Remember Hurricane Ida? It caused $100 billion in damages. Think about that. One storm, $100 billion. And don't believe that that's just a matter of private citizens contacting their insurance companies. You can bet that the federal government and many state and local governments will be investing heavily to overcome the damage that's been done. Climate change is the gravest threat to our economy, bar none, not to mention our children and grandchildren's future. We've waited too long. Climate change must be addressed today. Tomorrow is too late. Delay and denial will not make it disappear, only increase the damage and lessen the opportunities for solutions that we might consider. America is the world's can-do nation. We're the nation who looks at problems and says, we can fix it. And there's something that our Republican colleagues either don't get or won't admit. Dealing with climate change has the potential to be the biggest job creator in generations. We have an opportunity to put millions of Americans to work building sustainable, resilient future for our country. Let me give you a recent example from last week. I had a chance to meet with the public transit officials in Champaign-Urbana. Of course, Champaign-Urbana, Illinois is a home to University of Illinois. They were there to showcase a new zero-emission bus and a charging infrastructure that is cutting edge. You see, these buses run on hydrogen fuel cells, powered by solar energy. They'll save tens of thousands of gallons of diesel fuel and prevent more than 130 tons of greenhouse gas emissions every single year. Imagine if every city in America followed the lead of Champaign-Urbana, reconstructing their public transit system, making them sustainable and dependable. Think of all the Americans we could put to work assembling buses and trains, building charging stations, training workers to maintain and repair these fleets. That's what President Biden's bipartisan infrastructure bill will help do. It's the largest infrastructure proposal in decades, and it'll invest billions in green transit alone. And for the record, the previous president, Republican President Donald Trump, had no transportation package. He talked about it in the campaign, and for 4 straight years, he delivered nothing. President Biden's Build Back Better agenda is also an investment in our future. If you're worried about a worker shortage, and we should be, the Build Back Better plan will enable parents, especially mothers, to return to work by making safe and affordable child care resources and senior care available for every family in this country. And it's a blueprint for America to win the 21st century and boost every family's economic security by investing in schools, education, and first-class job training. Continuing to do nothing while China and our other competitors pass us by is a strategy for finishing in second place, which appears to be the Republican strategy. Our Republican colleagues say, well, we just can't afford to invest in America's workers and families and economic potential. Boy, are they wrong. What we can't afford is to do nothing. Nothing. That's what they did when it came to the American Rescue Plan. Not a single Republican would support our efforts for an American Rescue Plan to address the COVID-19 crisis. The vaccination program, which has vaccinated most of Americans and continues to do even more, was funded by that program. Money was in that program to help businesses get back on their feet after the pandemic. It was a real investment in the future of America. It unfortunately did not have support from the other side of the aisle.